Ready, set.
Town Charlotte. We are in the latter half of our 2023 ACC football kickoff media event, and we're happy to welcome Wake Forest and the Demon Deacons to the stage. We will have 15 minutes with our head coach, Dave Clawson, then 5 minutes apiece with each of our student athletes that are represented. If you would, once again, please identify yourself and the name of your agency as you prepare to ask the question of our program. Coach, you guys can step on up if you like. And Coach, you can attack the podium first. And I believe that we've got our first question that will be set to your left, second row, gentleman by the name of John Dell.
Dave, John Dell, Winston-Salem Journal. Wanted to ask you about Mitch and his best attribute, you think. Have you seen him as he's going to be the full-time starter, obviously? What do you like best about Mitch?
Well, when you talk about quarterbacks, they have to have more than one attribute. And I think with Mitch, there's a very complete skill set. He's extremely accurate. He's got good arm strength. He's athletic. He has really good instincts, great work ethic, super teammate, and he's genuine. And he's ready to go. And I think what happened last year when he had to start the first game, that's not anything that anybody wanted, but I think just having that experience of being the starter will help him this year. And he's smart. He knows doing it for one game and doing it for 12 consecutive games is a completely different challenge. But I think he's ready to go, and he just has a great work ethic.
Coach, to your right, fourth row.
Kenton Gibbs with Locked On ACC. Every 2 years since 2016, you all have had exactly 15 wins. 7 wins, then 8, then 7, then 8, then 4 and 11. And you had, I believe it was 8 last year. Is that a level of consistency that you're like, hey, this program is good here? Is there another level that you want to take it to? And how do you go about accomplishing that with a team that's losing quite a bit of production?
Well, first of all, thanks for that stat. I never knew that it was 15 every 2 years. But I think there's two parts to the question. The first is, yes, there is a level of consistency that we want to our program. And I said this a few years ago, that I hope we get to the point at Wake Forest that in our down years, we're still getting 7 and 8 wins and getting the bowls. Obviously, 2 years ago in 21, when we had 11 wins and played for the ACC championship, that's always the standard we'd like to get to. But the way that I approach it is that we want to maximize the ability of every team we have. So I think every football team kind of has a range of what they can accomplish, and our goal every year is to maximize that range. And we'll start figuring out in the next month during training camp what the range of this football team is. I think we have a chance to have a really good team. We lost 11 starters, but we're not young. A great example is at left tackle, we lost a seventh-year player, Javionte Nash. Well, geez, Wake's going to be young again. Well, the guy that's starting left tackle for us now is a seventh-year senior, Spencer Clapp. We lost 2 6-year players on the O-line, Loic Nye and Sean McGinn. Luke Pettibone in his 4th year is back. And so we have guys that maybe haven't played a lot, but they've been in our program for 3, 4, 5 years, and now they're having their opportunity to play. There's still a maturity of our team. We're not as experienced, but we'll get that experience, and I think we'll be in really good shape.
Coach, to your left, fourth row, just about the middle.
Cameron Lemons, Demon Deacon Digest. Dave, it feels like a lot of the talk about Wake Forest this offseason isn't about the team, whether it's people you've lost to the transfer portal, the NIL boogeyman coming to try and take some players away. You're replacing a new wide receivers coach, cornerbacks coach. There's not a whole lot of talk of what's actually on the team. How do you keep the guys sort of focused on, hey, here's what's in the room, here's what we're going to do, and keep the focus back on them versus what's not there?
This whole narrative, and really, it's, Sam Hartman went to Notre Dame, Rondell Bothroyd went to Oklahoma. Those guys spent 5 years in our program. They did everything right. What's not talked about is all the players who stayed. You don't think these guys all had offers to go to other schools? We had 6 to 8 players that were tampered with, that were given great NIL opportunities, and they all chose to stay. And I looked at a positive. We had the second fewest players in the country going to the portal. And so, like most football teams in the country, yeah, we lost some guys in the portal. I'm more happy about all the guys that stayed. You know, now that doesn't make as good of a headline for a story, but our program has been based on, again, recruiting the right guys, retaining them, and graduating them. We are still attempting to run a college football program at Wake Forest. We have a collective, and I'm sure all these guys are getting something. It's not like we're ignoring the new age of college football. But our program is still based on retention and graduation. And if you look at the amount of players who went into the portal, I'd argue that we're managing this as well as anybody in the country right now.
Coach, if you follow the center aisle, you'll see the gentleman to the right, about 6th row.
Hey, Coach. Scout Hughes, WBRF. Talk to me about the opening of the McCreary football complex and what it means to the program.
It's just another major step in developing a top flight Power 5 program. There's this old narrative that somehow Wake Forest isn't as committed to football as other Power 5 schools. And again, that narrative from the 1950s to 2000, I wish it would go away. In the last 7 years, we've invested more than $120 million in new facilities. We have a brand new indoor that we opened in 16, the McCreary Fieldhouse. We have the Sutton Sports Performance Center. I would put our weight room, our meeting rooms, our day-to-day facilities are up there with anybody in the country. And we just opened up close to a $40 million complex. It's not a locker room, it's a complex. Equipment room, locker room, dining facility, players' lounge. So there is an institutional commitment to football. And I've been very fortunate to be the head coach at Wake Forest during a time that all this investment's been made. And I think the reason we've been successful is we are invested. We do care about football. And, our success on the field, it's not a result of one coach or a handful of players. It's a whole army of people that have sacrificed and allowed us to be in this position. So we're grateful to Bob and all the other donors who allowed us to move into the facility. But if you've been following our program, it's every 2 or 3 years we're opening up another $20, $30, $40 million facility. So come visit us. Visit every other Power 5 school. And I think when you look at our facilities, you'll have a hard time saying Wake Forest isn't committed to football.
Coach, to your left, 1st row.
Coach Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. How are you?
I'm good, and it's great to hear your voice. Every week when we used to do that ACC conference call, you always had a great question for me.
I appreciate
so
that.
Let's go. I can't wait to hear it.
Well, going off of what you said in what Wake Forest is and what it's become over the years, you're one of the longest tenured coaches that we're seeing in the ACC of over a decade at Wake. What's kept you coming back, and what makes you keep believing in what's being built there? And just, to maybe go a little bit further about the fact that they've banked on you at Wake Forest and continue to extend and believe in your mission and your vision and your culture.
Well, first of all, I view myself as very fortunate in this day and age in college football to be able to live in the same house with your family and your kids to be able to go to schools and be in the same place. I'm fortunate that Wake Forest has allowed me to do that, but I think I'm very philosophically aligned with the place. The reason I got into coaching college football are all the things we do at Wake Forest. We recruit high-character young men that care about their schoolwork. They graduate. They have very exciting trajectories after Wake Forest, whether it be in the NFL or other professions. And, I don't have to fight my conscience going to work every day. That's a great feeling as a football coach, that when you go to work every day at a school, that your value system aligns with the institution. And my family loves Winston-Salem, and we get good players. We're supported by our administration. And I get to coach, I think, just outstanding young men that are extremely well-rounded. You know, we went to dinner last night, and the conversations we have with these guys, they're adult conversations. And so I just love the caliber of student athlete we get, the relationships we're able to develop. And when we say we're adding value to their lives in ways other than football, it's not a cliche. You know, that's very cliche-ish, and everybody says it. You know, we proactively do those things. And so I go to bed every night believing that we're doing these, you know, we're coaching football for the right reasons. Now, having said that, you have to win. And if you don't win all those other things, you don't get an opportunity to do it. So we're very driven by competitive success as well.
Coach, the very back of the room to the right.
Hey, Coach. Cooper Sullivan, Old Gold and Black. This is your 10th year at Wake Forest, but it's also 4 of your assistants' 10th year at Wake Forest. Coach Higgins has also been with the program for the entirety of your stay. How valuable is having that program and coaching stability for the guys who are less experienced and trusting them on the field this upcoming season?
I mean, I say it all the time. The reason that we've had success as a program is that we've had continuity. I mean, our head strength coach, Chad Berry, has been with me 13 years. Warren Ruggiero and John Hunter, 15 years. Nick Tabacca, 10 years. Dave Cohen, 10 years. If you're going to be a developmental program, which we are, I mean, we don't get 4 and 5-star recruits. And somehow we manage to win games because I think our coaches, our strength staff, our nutritionists, our trainers, we do a great job developing players. And one of the reasons they develop is from day one when they come in. You know, Michael Juergens, day one as a freshman, his offensive line coach, Nick Tabacca, said, this is how we get in a stance. This is how we pass set. This is how we zone block. And when you're in your program 3, 4, 5, and in his case 6 years, and those things never change, you can get really, really good at them. And I think that's why we've had success, is that we've had a great staff, and I'm fortunate that they've chosen to stay too. So this job would not be nearly as good as it is or has been if we constantly had a revolving door with assistant coaches. And again, I credit our administration. It's not like these guys, like our players, haven't had opportunities to leave. The school has stepped up and done things to help keep them and allowed us to continue to be successful.
Coach, thank you. If you'd like to switch places with Mitch, we'll spend about 5 minutes with our student athlete.